So how do you get freelance work? Well, obviously there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it, and I'm going to cover some of my favorites today, some of the ways that I've won consistent freelance work, and also ones that I know my colleagues who have successfully set up a freelancing career and business have also used as well. Now, firstly, I'm not going to touch on any of the platforms, so Fiverr, People Per Hour, Freelancer, Upwork, etc. I have never used them for my own business and trying to attract clients, and I don't believe you need to. However, I haven't worked with them, so I can't speak on them with any authority. I may bring someone on the channel who has done, but I'm not going to cover that today. So let's get into what I am going to talk about. First one is your network. So friends and family is included, but I prefer your professional network to start with. Almost certainly that is where you'll win your first client. We have a video on winning your first freelance client, which will detail that further and how you go about that. But sharing your expertise and the fact that you're now offering freelance services with your network can be really, really powerful. Some of my favorite people within the network can be people you have worked with before, because there's a trust, there's a credibility, there's an understanding of their business as well, how they operate their processes. That can be a really nice transition into working with you as a freelancer. So think previous employers, previous managers, any clients, and then within reason, obviously with any agreements of when you've left roles, companies that you've worked with. Can be a fantastic place to start, and often will give you the foundation of some freelance projects and work to get you going, but you will need to build upon that. So how do you do that? Well, this is what actively marketing your services comes in. And this could be things like social media. This could be using your personal website, which I think is really powerful. For example, you could create video content like this, or you could write blog articles about your services. The key thing is it's a value exchange. So you're not just selling your services and saying how great you are throughout the content. It's actually giving something of value across. So let's say, for example, you're a web designer. So you could create a fantastic article on how to optimize your homepage for user experience. You could write the blog, you could have screenshots of different elements of the homepage of where people could optimize, and you share that out to your network and your audience. Now, it's going to take time to build up an audience. For a while, you're going to be sharing this stuff into the void, but you'll get some traction if you're consistent. So you have to make sure you look at this as a medium to long-term play. It isn't going to work overnight, but if you do that consistently, you'll start to build up authority and credibility in your space, so that when people do have a project, you'll be front of mind, or people will refer you because they say, oh, I read this great article from such and such. Maybe you should speak to them about your project. So doing your own marketing through creating content in whichever format you feel most comfortable, and whatever platforms you feel most comfortable sharing, whether that's LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram. Try to go where your audience is. So it's a blend of what you know and like, because you're going to have to enjoy it to keep consistent, but also obviously you want to make sure your audience is on the said platform as well. Now, you can circumvent this by running some advertising campaigns, and I am a fan of doing so. It definitely worked for me in the early stage of my freelancing career. However, you need to be mindful of the budget to make sure you're not overspending, or you get to a point where actually it's potentially not profitable for winning projects based on it. But if we look at something like pay-per-click, Google Ads, for example, there will be hundreds and thousands of people searching for your service. So whether that's graphic design, web design, SEO, digital marketing, whatever it might be, people will have a demand for your service, and they'll be actively looking for providers. Now, of course, it's very competitive because lots of other people have the same idea. So the best way to go is to get more niche. So could it be location based, which is probably becoming less relevant with remote working, but that could be something. Could it be sector and vertical based? So do you offer SEO for e-commerce fashion businesses, for example? Now that would be something where you could get quite niche, and you could run advertising campaigns specifically for people searching for that type of service. Now there's going to be less of them, but the competition is going to be lower. You're going to pay less for those clicks. Potentially you're going to bring in leads that makes sense financially for you, go through your sales process and onboard them. So you can actually drive some early growth through paid advertising while you're working on the organic content building we talked about earlier. Another way is communities. Now there are loads and loads of communities for different sectors, interests, expertise, for example. There are lots of communities for freelancers, which is a great way to meet potential collaborators. But in terms of clients, depending on the audience that you work with, try and find the communities that they spend time in. Now you have to be very mindful of the fact that their these communities are not built for you to sell your services, so you cannot steam in and just start selling your services. But if you feel like you could add value to an audience, you can go into that community and share some great content. So, for example, there is a great community of salon owners, hair salon owners in the UK. When I was starting out, I picked up some work in the hair and beauty space, more by luck, to be honest with you, than judgment. So within that community, I'm now a key member, and anyone has questions to do with Google or SEO, which is one of my areas of expertise, I will share content in that community, any updates, and they'll come to me. Now, I'm just literally in there to share value, but as a consequence of that, I consistently get asked if people could work with me and what are my rates, what are my services, and we get into conversations. But I never, ever sell the fact that I offer them services. I just go in offering value. So if you can find communities where your audience exists, you can go there and share your expertise and offer value, and in time build up an audience again who may be interested in your services. Now, we've talked about a lot of different elements here, but this is what you need. You need to be marketing your services consistently in this way so that over time you'll get to a point of abundance where you can be really particular over the type of projects and clients you work with. And maybe you'll want to expand your freelance business into an agency or to collaborate with other partners, and that's absolutely fine. But these are the steps you need to take to get there. So these are some of my favorite ways and some of the most effective ways I've seen for long-term growth of your freelance business to help pick up some new business and clients.